Today, it's the Sony Xperia XZ3 versus the Oneplus 6T, and the Xperia XZ3 has no headphone jack. And the Oneplus 6T has no headphone jack. So unfortunately, although both of these phones are really awesome, neither of them have a headphone jack. But I still think these are really good options for you guys, even in 2019. The prices on these are about to drop, and I'm making this video to help you guys decide which one is better for you. So let's go. So in normal What Gear fashion, we're going to break this down into 4 sections. First of all, we're going to be comparing the design, then the usability on both of these devices, then the quality, and then at the end, my favorite section I like to call awesome features. Let's go. Okay, so let's start with the displays. On the XZ3, you have a 6-inch Quad HD OLED display with HDR, and it's 537 pixels per inch, which is huge. That's a lot of detail there crammed into that 6-inch screen. Now on the Oneplus 6T, we have a bigger display at 6.4 inches. It's full HD and 401 pixels per inch, slightly lower than the XZ3, but a much bigger display here. And when we look at the back of the XZ3, you can see you've got this glass finish. It's kind of curved, it's very glossy, it's incredibly slippery, and yes, it is a fingerprint magnet. And you might want to pick up a case for this phone if you're thinking about getting it, and I made a video about that, so you guys can check that out in the card in the top right corner or in the description below this video. So when I first took this out of the box, when it was sent to me just recently, I wasn't that impressed with the back of the phone because it was quite dark in the room. But now, having actually been using this and actually seeing it in the daylight, actually I really like the back of this phone, and that's because of a couple of reasons. First of all, it's not a fingerprint magnet at all. And second of all, it's not slippery at all. So it's the complete opposite of the Xperia XZ3 in that sense. And it is glass, but it doesn't feel like glass. There are other designs you can go for, like the McLaren version, which looks really awesome. But unfortunately, I didn't get that one, but maybe next time. On the front of the Oneplus 6T is the teardrop notch. It's much nicer than the kind of notches you see on the Pixel 3 or on the iPhones. So on the Xperia XZ3, you still got that chin and forehead, which is pretty old school. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It would have been nice if they added some functionality into those edges. That could have made those really useful, maybe for gaming or something like that. What do you guys think about the chin and forehead on phones these days, or do you prefer as bezel-less as it gets? And have you guys seen the renders of the new OnePlus 7? That phone is going to be interesting. Now back to the OnePlus 6T. On the base of the phone are dual downward speakers, and on the Xperia XZ3 the speakers are actually front facing and stereo. When it comes to the cameras, Sony have gone for that single lens camera, and if you guys want to see how good that is, I've done a bunch of comparison videos which you can check out. And on the OnePlus 6T, they've got the same cameras that they had in the 6, which is a dual camera layout, which actually have Sony sensors behind them. And with the XZ3, you have a rear mounted fingerprint reader, but on the OnePlus 6T, you have this awesome in-screen fingerprint reader, which is just really awesome. When it comes to the buttons on the devices, the OnePlus 6T has the volume rocker on the left side, the power button on the right side, and their very own custom alert slider, which is really good when it comes to usability. And we'll speak about that in a moment. On the XZ3, all of the buttons are on the right hand side, and that includes the volume rocker, the power button, as well as a dedicated camera button. Both phones support USB-C charging, as we've come to expect in 2018 and going forward into 2019. And as I said before, neither of these phones have a headphone jack. Now on to usability on the two devices. I mentioned that awesome in-screen fingerprint reader, and it really is awesome. It's so fast, it rarely ever fails. And I've been using the Mate 20 Pro recently, and the in-screen fingerprint reader on this is much more accurate and is faster in my opinion. Now on the back of the XZ3 is a fingerprint reader, and in my other video, 1 month later review of the XZ3, I mentioned it's a little bit tricky to get your finger to. But I kind of feel like it's like learning to play guitar. Once your fingers kind of learn where the chords are, they just kind of go there naturally, and it's the same thing with the XZ3. I was using this for quite a long time, and by the time I switched devices, my finger would just go there without even thinking about it. So the positioning of the fingerprint reader later on didn't become a problem at all. You just kind of get used to it. It's kind of muscle memory. You just kind of go straight there without even thinking about it. Although a lot of people complained about it in the past, when you actually have one of these, it's not a problem at all, and it's super accurate, super fast. One of the features that the OnePlus 6T has, which the XZ3 doesn't, is face unlock, and I'm not sure why Sony haven't done this yet, but that's a great feature there when it comes to usability on the OnePlus 6T. But when it comes down to ergonomics and just holding the device in your hand, the XZ3 may be slightly more comfortable thanks to the rounded edges, but when it comes to button placements on the edges and also the in-screen fingerprint reader, I feel like the ergonomic edge goes to the OnePlus 6T. When it comes to day-to-day use of these two phones, of course the battery life is super important. On the XZ3 you have a 3330 milliamp battery, which is not bad at all, and on the OnePlus 6T you have an upgraded 3700 milliamp battery. I had the original OnePlus 6 and I didn't have a problem with that battery life. With that added battery capacity, this phone will easily last you all day without worry. But one of the advantages the XZ3 has is the fact that it supports wireless charging, and up until this point OnePlus have never actually done a wireless charging device. I'm not sure why, but that's definitely an advantage here on the XZ3. So if you're into wireless charging, this might be the device for you. Both support USB-C as I mentioned earlier, and both charge really fast, but the OnePlus 6T is faster. And when it comes to the software on both of these devices, they're both currently on Android 9, and the OnePlus 6 has the Oxygen OS skin, which adds some nice functionality. But if you're more about stock Android, maybe the XZ3 will be better, but I really do like the Oxygen OS software. There's some really great features on there when it comes to usability. Now onto the quality of the devices. Both phones have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845, which was Qualcomm's 2018 flagship processor. And here's where it gets a bit different. The OnePlus 6T has 8 GB of RAM, whereas the Sony XZ3 has half of that at just 4 GB of RAM. Yes, there's different variants out there. That's just the devices that I have in front of me right now. And how will this affect the quality of your device? Well, basically, if you have more RAM, you can do better multitasking. When you've got loads of apps running in the background, your phone's going to slow down a little less. But to be honest, 4 gigs of RAM is usually plenty for most people. Both of these devices feel like really quality products. All of the materials used on these two phones just feel really premium, and you really can't fault them. So when it comes to the cameras on the devices, these are really quality aspects of both of these phones. The dual camera layout gives you that 2x optical zoom, which is really useful sometimes, and the single lens on the Sony actually gives you really good detail, and it's really surprising what they're able to do with this lens. And again, if you want to check out some camera comparison videos that I did with the XZ3, follow the card up in the top right corner. So now onto my favorite section, features. So the Sony has that QHD Plus HDR display, and I must admit, out of all of the phones I saw in 2018, this has one of the most beautiful displays you can get on a phone, and that pixel density, the color reproduction, everything on this screen is just really awesome. The in-screen fingerprint reader on the OnePlus 6T is so awesome. I really love using it. I like the animation too. Some people say they don't like that animation. I think it's really cool. When people have seen me using this, they're asking me, what is that, Troy? I'm like, hey, check this out. In-screen fingerprint reader, really awesome. On the XZ3, the front firing speakers are just so useful, especially when you're gaming, because when you're holding the device, you can actually hear left and right audio channels, and that's really great for gaming or watching movies. The OnePlus 6T, however, has a massive screen, 6.4 inches. Even if you hide the notch, it's still bigger than the XZ3. So if the size of the screen is important to you, the OnePlus 6T might be the way to go. So the Sony XZ3 has 4K HDR video recording. I don't think there's many phones out there right now with that capability. If you're all about making videos on your smartphone, then this might be the way to go. And the last awesome feature I'm going to talk about on the OnePlus 6T is how fast this thing charges. It's lightning fast, and I think there's not many phones out there that can actually match this for charging speed. Maybe the Mate 20 and the View 20, but super fast charging. Really awesome feature. You wake up in the morning, forgot to charge your phone the night before, plug it in for 20 minutes and you're pretty much set for the entire day. So both of these phones are really awesome. Even in 2019, I would strongly advise you guys to keep an eye on the prices on these, because they're bound to drop soon. The MWC is coming up, and I expect Sony are going to launch a new device, and then the OnePlus 7's on its way as well. Once those devices are released, the prices on these are going to drop, and if you want to keep an eye on those, follow the links below this video and you can check out the latest deals. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications for more videos like this in the future. I'm hoping to check out the XZ4 later this year, and also the OnePlus 7 later as well. I'm really excited to see what these new devices will have and what they'll bring to the table in 2019. And I want to say a big shout out to OnePlus for hooking up this device. Although I didn't get it as early as everybody else, it's nice to actually see it for myself and do this comparison video for you guys. So guys, if you just subscribed, that means you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man, and I'll see you guys in the next one, so don't be late.